Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotarasata Shishimad is the Bangaris A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotarasata Shishimad is the Bangaris Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem se kao Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki. Vrindavan Mathuradam ki. Mayapur Navaturdam ki. Jagannath Puridam ki. Gangayam Mai ki. Yamuna Mai ki. Tulsi Devi ki. Harinam Sankirtan Yaga ki. Prihatminaga Transcendental Book Distribution ki. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, it's quite an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight with all the devotees. It's the first time I come to Calgary, and I didn't expect that so much sweetness coming from the devotees and the deities as well. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here and try to purify ourselves by sharing a little bit about the glories of Krishna consciousness. So tonight's topic is very important for our survival in this material world. It's called How to See Krishna Everywhere. So where did this come from, this seminar? For the last 2 years I've been studying Vedic psychology. I came upon this book by Suhotra Swami Maharaj called Vedanta Psychology, a Vedic schema of the mind. And after I read this, it completely blew me away. This is what you call the eyes of knowledge. Really changes your perception on things. That's why knowledge is very important. So also, Bhaktivedanta Swami, he gave the seminar in 2009 on Vedanta psychology, which really helps us to see Krishna in everything, for what it is, really. How to perceive Krishna for what he is, everything. Because that's the point. Krishna is everything. That's what we'll discover tonight. We'll try to understand how to perceive Krishna at the level of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And how to see Krishna in our attachments. And how to perceive Krishna in our devotional service. And how to perceive true or real identity. Because the most important thing is not whether we perceive Krishna or not, but with which identity we perceive Krishna. If we perceive Krishna with a material identity, with his bodily identification, then what we see is Maya. If we perceive Krishna as a servant of the Lord, because that's our eternal nature, because we're in our natural position, then we see Krishna for what he is, Krishna. That's the secret. Basically, being liberated or conditioned is only about this. That's very simple. If you perceive yourself to be this body, meaning I am this and this is mine, then you perceive this to be not Krishna because it is supposed to be mine. I want to be the enjoyer and the controller. I want to be God. So because I want to be God, this is mine. All of this is mine. Because only Krishna can say this. This is mine. He is everything. He is the source, the proprietor, the supreme controller and enjoyer. So he has the right to say this. But we don't, because we are not the proprietor. We are not the controller. We are the soul. So when we perceive like this, then it changes everything. That's what Krishna consciousness is. Perceiving it as it is, as a servant of the Lord. As simple as this. But we'll go more into details about this in the seminar. So basically, Krishna is everything, like we see on this nice painting. Mother Yashoda, when Krishna was playing with dirt, Balaram went and he told on him, and he went to Mother Yashoda and told her that Krishna had eaten dirt. So she opened his mouth to see what was there, and what she saw actually completely bewildered her. She was totally confused, because in his mouth, she saw everything. She saw the universe, she saw the material creation, she saw all the planets, and she even saw herself looking at Krishna's mouth. So this is the perfect example to show us how actually Krishna is everything. But like we see interestingly in this picture is that, well, like we understand the three aspects of the Absolute Truth. Krishna is Bhagavan, is there, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the abode of all qualities in persons, the abode of the Brahman effulgence is there. Then we see basically from him is coming all the Brahman effulgence, which is actually, what is the Brahman, or what is the effulgence? Why is it effulgence? Why is there effulgence in Brahman? It's because it's emanating from Krishna's qualities. That's what the Brahman effulgence is. All these qualities coming out of Krishna, they are creating a bluish hue, or sapphire blue hue, and this, energy or this light is emanating into the Brahman effulgence. And like we will try to understand tonight, everything we see here in this material world is, or whatever it is beauty, or whether it is wealth or knowledge, is basically, we see that quality because the Brahman effulgence have been expanded in this material world. And by this effulgence, Krishna's qualities are manifested in everything. So let us continue. So we'll start with seeing Krishna as Brahman, because that's the first level. That's what the impersonalists or the yogis or gyanis are trying to do. So it is there, but it's not the complete aspect. But even in terms of seeing Krishna as Brahman, there's something higher in that we see Krishna's qualities in everything. That's the level, the first perception, level of perception, is trying to see that, like I was explaining, in everything that is there, there's beauty in it, or whatever the quality is in there, because Krishna is there as Brahman, as the effulgence. Just continue. So let us read this very interesting verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Uddhava Gita, 11th canto, chapter 13, text 24. Within this world, whatever is perceived by the mind, speech, eyes, or other senses is me alone and nothing besides me. All of you, please understand this by a straightforward analysis of the facts. So this describes it very nicely. Whether it's by the mind, the speech, the eyes, no matter whether it's through the senses, no matter what we use to perceive what we see, it's always Krishna. And he says that all of you, please understand this by a straightforward analysis of the facts. That's what we're going to try to do tonight. We're going to try to analyze Krishna as being everything, so that we can actually perceive him as he is, everything. So anything you are seeing, dealing with, no matter how good or bad it is, it's still Krishna. So that is why there's actually no point to criticize others. It is completely useless. Because everything you see is Krishna. Because you see, the illusion is when you see something separate from Krishna. That's what illusion means. That's what unreal means. Because everything is real, everything is Krishna. But what is unreal is because of ignorance, you're seeing something separate from Krishna. This is what is unreal. But in actuality, everything is real and everything is Krishna. So we have to be careful about how we perceive things, because this influences extremely how we experience things in this world. But the point is that because we act through the mind, and the mind which is based on attraction and attachment, has its own opinion of what is good and bad. But if we want to understand what is good and bad, we have to understand through the Shastra, the scriptures. Because the mind is contaminated. The mind is for material attraction. And the mind is for putting ourselves in that position of controller and enjoyer. So when we perceive through the mind, naturally, what we perceive will be false, or will not be the true reality. So that is why when we perceive, we have to perceive through the eyes of knowledge, Shastra, that then after becomes Vijnana, realization. But first, we have to theoretically analyze, with the help of the intellect or the intelligence, what is good and what is bad. But we see here that, well, whether it is good or bad, it is still Krishna. These are dualities. Krishna is behind it. So that's why we should not be so surprised of what we see in this age or right now, in devotees or in others, if sometimes devotees do something wrong, or people, and at large in society, because this is just a movement of the material energy. This is the dance of the modes of nature. So, if we perceive it to be just the material energy, then we'll be completely misguided by these dualities. This is what is described in the Bhagavad Gita 5.18. The self-realized sage, whether it is an elephant or a dog eater, a dog, a sage, he sees everyone to be equal. He sees the soul in everyone. So in terms of good or bad, we should try to see basically where is it manifest, how is this manifested? Where is it coming from, whether we see good or bad? Because both are coming from Krishna. So that's why also, because we are in Kali Yuga, understanding that everything is sanctioned, Paramatma, everything is sanctioned, permitted, and manifested by the Lord, we should not be so surprised if we see some bad stuff around us. Because it's Kali Yuga, you see. And Krishna has made it in this way. We are going through this cycle of evolution. So when we see it like this, then our difficulties, challenges, or bad things don't look so bad anymore when you see where they come from. So definition of insanity is not being able to see things as they are. That's what is described in the dictionary. So if we don't see things as they are, we are all insane. Let's continue. Although, so this is another verse, although thus not existing in reality, this manifestation of transformations created from the mode of passion appears real because the self-manifested, self-luminous absolute truth exhibits himself in the form of the material variety of the senses, the sense objects, the mind, and the elements of physical nature. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:28-22. So there's so much variety, and we'll try to understand where this variety is coming from. It's coming from Lakshmi, but for now we'll just speak about this particularly. So basically, this manifestation, this variety is coming from Brahman. Whether it is good or bad, it is coming from Brahman. Because there's nothing separate from Krishna, whatever we perceive. So Brahman is the effulgence of Krishna's unlimited qualities. We spoke about that. We are attached to, what we are attached to is nothing but Krishna's qualities manifested in the objects of the senses. That is what is real. And this is the secret to deal with our attachments. Because if everything is Krishna, that means everything we're attached to, attracted to, everything we desire is Krishna. That's it. So, this is a very strong weapon towards our attachments. When we have an attachment for whatever it is, whether it is strong, intense, or very small or minute, this attachment is coming because Krishna's quality is in there. Why are we so much attached to the taste of the mango? Is it because of the mango itself? When you think about it, this is just a combination of the material elements coming from a tree. It's material. If you think about it, material means dead matter. So are we really getting the taste from dead matter? No, it's not possible. It's dead matter. So the taste we're getting from Krishna's quality that is there. When you eat the mango, basically, what you appreciate is Krishna's quality of sweetness in the mango. See? When you appreciate the beauty of a temple, what you appreciate is basically the architectural beauty in it. That is coming from Krishna. Because Krishna's primary quality is beauty. That's why Krishna is the best name for Krishna, meaning all attractive. So, in everything we see, if we want to deal with our attachments, then we just have to see, why am I attached to this? Why am I attached to the Ferrari? Red Ferrari, with a V8 engine that can go at 240 kilometers, after 8 seconds on a highway. So why am I attached to this? Is it just are you attached to the muffler? Are you attached to the oil in the car? Are you attached to the wires? Are you attached to the bolts? All this is dead matter. No, you're attached to the quality of strength that is coming from Krishna. You're attached to the color of red that is coming from Krishna's bimba fruit, lips that are just like the color of bimba red fruit. So you see everything that we're attached to. If you want to deal just naturally by looking at the desire, by looking at the quality, you start to see Krishna instead of the attachment. And then you naturally switch your focus from something material, a complete useless object of the senses that comes from material elements or dead matter, to a pure quality of Krishna. As simple as this. Srila Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is very simple. Even a child can take up to it. This shows you how simple it is. But we make it complicated. Why? Because we identify ourselves with dead matter. The problem number one is that we want to be God, the supreme controller and enjoyer. And like I was saying, because Krishna is the only one that is the source and that is the factual proprietor of everything, he can say that. But we cannot. Because never at any point we are actually the controller. Shishi Radhamadav Ki Jai. So basically, looking at Krishna's qualities will be able to see, that actually they're not coming from us. So this is the main problem, basically. Because we identify as God, because we think ourselves to be God, we identify these things to be us. And because we think this, I am this, and this is mine, then we take proprietorship of these things. And that's where the problems, they come in material life. That's why we're so much entangled, because we think ourselves to be God, the controller. So let us continue. Yeah. So, everything is Krishna. The illusion is that we think it is not Krishna and his internal potency. She then manifests as the external potency, and we are then conditioned. So that's where you see you're in illusion or you're in reality, or liberated or conditioned. Basically, it's a question of how you perceive things with which identity. As soon as you perceive yourself to be a servant, then it changes completely. Because a servant is not actually the proprietor of the house. A servant is not in control of the activities. He's just serving, assisting. And we'll try to go deeper into that. The tatastha position, what is the nature of the soul? So there is me and my maya, and I'm very attached to it. That's your point, you see? Because it is a fight, it is difficult, it is a challenge, and we're so much attached to it because we think this is us. Do you see the point here? Because we think this is us, this is mine, then this is me and this is my maya. So it becomes such a strong attachment. It becomes such an entanglement, such a difficulty to overcome, just because we identify with it as being God. So the soul is not the controller, not the enjoyer, not the field of activity, not the place of activity, not the result of the activity, not the cause of the activity. And the action itself is not us either. So what are we then? So we are tatastha. Tatastha Shakti, that is the nature of the soul. Tatastha means we are assistants of the Lord. That's what a servant means. We assist in what is seen and done. Can everyone repeat this together? We assist in what is seen and done.
We assist in what is seen and done.
If I wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, then what will you say?
We assist.
So basically, if you can remember something from the seminar, please remember this. I assist in what is seen and done. Because that's what is going on. Because never at any time are we actually in direct control of these things. Because the soul is the assistant. If I take a knife and I want to cut a potato, am I really the one doing the action? Am I the knife? Am I the hand? Am I the body? Am I the potato? No. I am the soul who has the desire to assist in that activity that is there. I assist by putting myself forward in the service, and then it happens. So, but because we want to be God, we identify with what? With that which is actually Krishna. So that's what I was describing. And that's what makes it very difficult. But as soon as you identify yourself to be the servant, when you understand that you're not the controller and the enjoyer, there's such a huge weight that comes out of our shoulders. We understand, well, actually, I don't have all the control I thought I had. I don't have so much responsibility over all these things. I'm assisting in it, but I'm not the controller. We think we're fighting with what is ours, but it's not ours. If it's not ours, then there's no fight. The fight is with ourselves. Just because we perceive ourselves to be God, then we have to fight so much with this material energy. We are attached to this principle that this is mine, this is my body, this is my car. You know, I am the controller and the enjoyer. This belongs to me. And just because of that, we enjoy and suffer. So the environment exists. That's the fact that we don't want to take. We think our emotional experience is the fact. I feel. So just because of the mind. We have this body because of the mind. Everything is coming because of the mind. So basically, because we don't see the environment for what it is, and because our experience is mainly based on the feeling, that's what is there in the Western society. It's all about the feeling. It's not about the scriptures. No, nothing. Well, why should I follow the scriptures? These 5,000 years old texts. Nothing to do with these. It's all about the feeling, how I feel with what I do. And that's the mind. And that is why, because everything is based on our feeling, that's why our perception of things is very biased. Because the mind means material attraction, and mind means I am the controller and the enjoyer. So we will because we perceive through the mind, then through our relationships, through devotional service, through a perception of the field of the activities, basically we perceive it to be for me, for my enjoyment, because I am the controller and the enjoyer and the proprietor. And that is why it becomes difficult in our relationships as well. Because we have relationships based on what is good for my control and my enjoyment. What is good for my gain and safety. So how you perceive yourself changes, but you as a soul doesn't change. You are the same one. All you have done is changed the perception. You are the observer. As soon as you identify yourself to be the body, to be the eye and mind, the field of the activities, then you are directly affected by it. But as soon as you identify yourself to be a servant detached from it, then you're not affected by it anymore. As simple as this. So seeing Krishna as Paramatma. So first we understood that Brahman means, or perceiving Krishna at the level of Brahman means perceiving Krishna's qualities in everything. But in seeing Krishna as Paramatma, it comes to another level. Not only Krishna, but we see the interaction between Krishna and his energies. Because that is the factual reality. Everything is coming from Radha Krishna. That's the highest aspect of the absolute truth. Krishna is the Purush, the possessor of energy. Radharani is the supreme energy, the Swarupa Shakti. So by the interaction between the processor and the energy, everything happens. So that's what Paramatma is. When we perceive Lakshmi and Narayan, let us see what is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mother Lakshmi, who is here, is the reservoir of all spiritual qualities, whereas you manifest and enjoy all these qualities. Indeed, you are actually the enjoyer of everything. You live as the super soul of all living entities, and the goddess of fortune is the form of their bodies, senses, and minds. She also has a holy name and form, whereas you are the support of all such names and forms, and the cause for their manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam 6:19-13. So Krishna is the quality in everything. But Srimati Radharani, or we can say Lakshmi Narayan, Lakshmi, she is the form. So body, mind, and senses is created or manifested by Lakshmi. She manifests the variety in everything. And Krishna manifests the quality in each of these different kinds of things. So to understand this, you see, we took the example of the mango. So Lakshmi, she is the mango, she is the form. And Krishna, he is the sweetness in the mango. So by this interaction, these things are going on. But the point is that this interaction is going on whether we want it or not. That's where we're not the controller. Everything is coming from the interaction between Lakshmi and Narayan, between the processor and the energy. And we are assisting this. We are not actually creating the form. Like we saw, I'm not the controller, I'm not the action, I'm not the activity, I'm not the form. This is all manifested by Lakshmi. So Lakshmi manifests the forms, but we think we are the enjoyer of Lakshmi. Whew. Let me repeat this. Lakshmi manifests the forms, but we think we are the enjoyer of Lakshmi. Therefore, the illusion is there, and she transforms into material energy. When I heard this completely shocked me. I can never see sense enjoyment the same way anymore. Forget it. Because you see here, we are energy, but we are trained to enjoy energy. This material world is Durga Devi, which is an expansion of Lakshmi, which is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So indirectly, we are trying to enjoy Lakshmi, the consort of Narayan, or Radharani, the consort of Krishna. But if you understand the principle indirectly, so you see. So that's what sense enjoyment here. We're trying to enjoy Lakshmi because we think ourselves to be Narayan or Krishna. We think ourselves to be the enjoyer. And what we are trying to enjoy is not us, it's Lakshmi. It's manifested by Lakshmi. Isn't it shocking? So the material energy is not interacting with us, it's interacting with Krishna. We just happen to be there, and we enjoy and suffer. So like I was saying, this interaction is going on, but we think we are the interaction, we think we are the results, we think we are the cause of it, and because of that, we enjoy or suffer. So we see the form, but not the cause of the form. So we see the external, we see a beautiful body, we see a beautiful tree, a beautiful car, a beautiful mango, a beautiful cake, but we don't see the cause of it. Because we don't see the cause, well, we think we're the cause of it, that's the point. I have caused this cake to appear. I have caused this car to appear because of my money. So you see the point here? But the point is we don't see the real cause. That is the interaction between the processor of the energy and the energy. Let us continue. So there's another verse. My Lord, you are the master of energy, and therefore you are the supreme person. Your sacrifice, yagya personified. Lakshmi, the embodiment of spiritual activities, is the original form of worship offered unto you, whereas you are the enjoyer of all sacrifices. So, body, mind, senses, sense objects, all of this is manifested by Lakshmi as an offering to the Lord, as a sacrifice. Because everything is sacrificed to Krishna. Because everything is meant for the pleasure of the Lord. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that please come forward in this world, but do everything as a sacrifice to Vishnu, so that you can become free from the karmic reactions. So that's the point here, is that that is reality. Everything is meant as sacrifice for the Lord. Even this material energy. It's just that this material world is an inferior manifestation of Lakshmi. It is a manifestation, but it is inferior. We see, because it's affected by the modes of nature, there are the disturbances, the different kinds of miseries. So there are limitations. It is temporary. So this shows you where it is inferior. So he is the creator and the support of the created Lakshmi. Therefore, he is the enjoyer of everything because it's Lakshmi. So that's where Krishna is enjoying even in this material world, because how is the enjoyment between Krishna and Radha in this material world? It's there in a sense that, well, Lakshmi, she manifests the form, and Krishna, he comes as the quality in the form. In that interaction, then Krishna enjoys as the super soul, the Paramatma, because he sanctions and permits everything. And because he is the cause and is the creator, the support of the created, he is the enjoyer. So Krishna is interacting with his energies. His energies and him are interacting based on a platform of sacrifice, and we can connect to that. So where are we in all of this then? So just to, because it's something very complex, just to recapitulate, basically, so body, mind and senses is Lakshmi. It is there as an offering to Narayan. Narayan is there as the quality in everything, and is there as super soul in the heart of the body. He's there and he sanctions the activity, he permits it, and because he's there, it's happening. In that sense, he's the enjoyer. And we are in between Lakshmi and Narayan. We assist by our desire, basically. Because this material world is coming from our desire, because we want it to be Krishna. Because we cannot do it in the spiritual world, then Krishna manifested this material world. So, basically, we are assisting in what is seen and done. So we are never in control of it, but by our desire, we engage it as a sacrifice to the Lord. So because we're in this body, and because our consciousness is there, we use our free will to assist in the activity. It's not, we engage our free will, and this is where the body moves. Now, because we have the will to move the hand, then it happens, but I'm not doing it, I'm assisting. So by our free will, we are assisting in the activity. And we are assisting in a mood of devotion, in a mood of sacrifice. So when you assist, doing it as a sacrifice to the Lord, understanding that it is coming from the interaction of Radha and Krishna, then everything becomes sacrifice. Everything becomes pure. There's no karmic reaction, there's no karma anymore. As soon as you identify yourself as the assistant, the servant, no more karma, that's it. So, let me see here. We are assisting the Lord, enjoying all what is seen and done, but we do that as assistants. This is the Tatastha position. So let's continue. When we identify as the field, it is not us serving Krishna, it's dead matter. And the dead matter already is serving Krishna. It's Lakshmi. She does her service, but you don't get any credit for that. That's why it's not the quantity or the external that is important, because the external is already going on by the interaction between Lakshmi and Narayan. It's already there, whether we want to do it or not. So basically, when it becomes for you a credit is when you actually see it, perceive it to be that way. And when you assist with your consciousness, with devotion in the activity. Because, like I said, everything is a movement of the material energy. I'm not moving the body. But I'm assisting with my free will, my consciousness, in the activity that is going on between this interaction. And I'm conscious of it, and I'm trying to connect it by my free will in a pure way, in the mode of goodness, or make sure that the activity is connected to Krishna. So, Krishna doesn't deal with the material energy, it is our concept. It is Lakshmi in reality. She has superior and inferior manifestations. So Krishna is always dealing with Lakshmi. But as soon as we identify ourselves to be the field, and we see it to be for our own enjoyment, then this is when it becomes material. Because for Krishna it's all spiritual. He doesn't see the difference. It's just that it is, for Krishna, basically, it is Lakshmi that is manifesting, or that is giving an inferior manifestation compared to what is there in the spiritual world. Everything there is superior in the sense that it's everything is conscious. Yes.
May I ask?
Yes. Yes.
You said earlier also, and you just said it now, that when we have that the material world is an illusion, right? And it's an inferior version of Lakshmi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, when you say inferior, is it because we are relating to it on a material platform and it's causing an illusion in the whole perspective of things? Meaning we're not identifying with this inferior energy as being part and parcel of Lakshmi, so it becomes an illusion to us, and thus we create karma? Is that somewhat?
Yes. It is still an inferior manifestation. It's coming from Lakshmi. It is inferior in the sense that it is temporary. And that we see is manifested through the modes of nature. But for Krishna, it is always an interaction between him and the energy with Lakshmi.
Right.
So, but basically, yeah, it is for what it is. What it is. It is an inferior manifestation. Yeah.
So is it inferior because it causes us to go into the illusion that we are in command, or we possess it, or we want to serve it, or it has to serve us? Is it an illusion? That's why it's inferior?
No, it is inferior to basically to make us. How can I say? Well, this material world is like a prison and a hospital. It is there because Krishna doesn't need the material world. I mean, everything is there in a perfect, absolute, transcendental way in Goloka Vrindavan. But it is manifested with this, these inferior qualities so that we become basically prison in a hospital. Prison in the sense that we have a rebel mentality, we want to be Krishna, so we're there. And hospital, we're trying to, it is helping us to cure the disease that we are trying to be God. So in that sense, we experience the suffering, that is why suffering is there. So that we actually start to question seriously about who we are, understanding that, and we feel that we're not the controller and the enjoyer. And we start to want to reconnect with the source, with Krishna. So in that sense, it is like this to correct our wrong mentality, which is mainly that we're trying to be God, the controller and the enjoyer. Does that make sense? Yeah. Nice question, thank you. So, the interaction of Lakshmi and Narayan is just a spark of their real form in the spiritual world. But we think it's something very special. We identify with dead matter, so any movement is better than nothing. So you see, Krishna doesn't need this material world. I mean, when you think about it, it's temporary, it's full of miseries, and people are ignorant. There's a lot of ignorance. Because we're covered, by this, because we cover ourselves by the wrong perception that we are God. So basically, we take it to be special because we identify with it, and we are attached to movement, we are attached to activity. Then these activities that are going on, we think it to be the best and the absolute. So we see things in connection to Krishna. We're dealing with Brahman, it liberates us. We don't, then it contaminates us. So that's what I was saying. Basically, karma comes from your fruitive mentality. That's what Prabhupada describes in Bhagavad Gita. The fruitive mentality is giving the karmic reaction. And that's what also is described. It's very interesting purport. I have not been able to find it yet. If anyone knows where it is described that, basically we, in devotional service, we become purified from karma. But because we are attached to the mentality, the fruitive mentality, then we are still experiencing some level of karma. Quite interesting. If anyone can find this quote, it's just very, very interesting, showing actually that it's just because of our mentality that we, even in devotional service, that we still experience the karma. Let us continue. So I take so just an example to help us understand this perception at the level of Paramatma. So I take the variety that's in my house and keep it very nice and clean because it's Lakshmi. I service to her, so that the house can be therefore engaged nicely in Krishna's service, because that's her service to Krishna. She is the house. So it's her service to Krishna to serve as a house. And he is the enjoyer of the house. So therefore, I assist by cleaning the house. Very good example. So the difference between whether you perceive or act at the level of Paramatma or Bhagavan, Paramatma is then when you see the interaction, but you see it, you do it out of duty. But when you do it out of love for Krishna, because you want to give him pleasure, then this is acting at the level of Bhagavan. So as soon as we assist in the activity by identifying as Krishna's servant, then whatever we are dealing with becomes yagya, sacrifice. We already spoke about this. Yeah. Seeing Krishna as Bhagavan. We see here, this is Bhagavan. This is Radha Madhav from ISKCON Calgary. Beautifully dressed and ornamented with fresh flowers. The abode of sweetness. So let us continue. So, Bhagavan. There are 6 aspects that are directly Krishna. The deity, Prasadam, holy name, Vaishnavas, the holy Dham, and Shastras. This is directly Krishna. That's why chanting and hearing is so important. So easiest is just to deal with the direct. But as we need other things in our life, they have to be connected. They have to be engaged. So that's why chanting, we spoke about this in Lent yesterday, that's why chanting is so important. Because when you chant, you directly associate with Bhagavan. There's nothing else. It's Krishna directly. It's not the external manifestation. It's not the objects of the senses. It's directly Krishna. That's why the connection is very easy and simple. It's the same with Prasadam, the same with the deity. It's directly Krishna. So if we can act, if we can deal as much as possible with the direct, things become very simple because we constantly associate directly with Krishna. So it's easy to understand this is Krishna. I mean, you look at this, you cannot say, well, this is Maya, or this is just a statue. As devotees, we understand this is Krishna, is there. As Prasadam also, as the literature, as basically, this is Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, is there. It's conscious, it's Krishna. So you go directly in contact with Krishna when you read Bhagavad Gita. Just a small note, Shabda Brahman, when you hear Bhagavad Gita, it's exactly the same benefit than when Arjuna was there personally face to face with Krishna. Because this is Krishna, it's not different, you get the same benefit. So, I'm attached to my child, dead matter. Let's say I'm attached to the body of the child, which is dead matter. The perception of childness, the interaction between parent and child, that's all Krishna. It's not the dead matter. Because if the soul is not there in the body of the child, are we attached to the body? No. So my child is giving me pleasure. No, it's Krishna in the form of the energy of this child that gives me pleasure. Very interesting. Why are we so much attached to the child? We are attached to Krishna manifesting childness in the child. That's how you can be Krishna conscious. When you understand that Krishna is there as the quality in everything, and that Radharani, she is manifesting the form. So you see, basically the pleasure that I have is coming because Krishna originally is manifesting pure childness as baby Krishna. And this is what we experience in the child. If the childness is Krishna, then I have to deal with the child as Krishna wants to be dealt with as a child. This is acting at the level of Bhagavan. Very interesting. So how I can think about Krishna when I'm doing. So this example, it is just like the Bhagavad Gita, it's exactly the same as if you would be serving Krishna as a baby in Vrindavan. There's absolutely no difference. When you serve your child like this, understanding that Krishna is the childness in him, and that you want to deal with the child like you will deal with Krishna personally, when you act in that consciousness, it is exactly the same as being the mother of Krishna in Vrindavan, serving him personally. That's how you can live in this material world and being completely absorbed and connected to Krishna. Quite amazing. This is Krishna consciousness, highest philosophy. So, if it is connected to Krishna, then it's hard to enjoy because we have to serve. When you see, well, this is Krishna, you cannot say, I'm going to enjoy the deity. Well, it is Krishna, I better serve him. I'm not going to enjoy the deity. I'm going to bring him prasadam, cook for him, dress him. See, if you see and apply this in everything in your life, then you have no choice but to serve, not to enjoy. But if I find one thing separate from Krishna, that I can enjoy. You see, that's why we want to see things separate from Krishna. Because when it is separate, then no, it's not Krishna. No, then I have the right to enjoy it. But that's not the fact, because Krishna is everything. See, very subtle control and enjoyment in devotional service. So we need to enjoy it in connection with Krishna. That's the point. When we do things in connection to Krishna, in the way he likes to give him pleasure, then we enjoy. Krishna forced happiness upon the gopis. The gopis, they have the topmost bhakti, topmost love to Krishna. Why? Because they absolutely don't do it at all for any personal motivation. They don't even look for happiness and enjoyment in doing it. They do it purely, utterly for the pleasure of Krishna. And because they do it like this, Krishna forces happiness upon them. So, since I've been speaking about Vedic psychology, we'll go more into detail about the psychology of the mind. Because, like I was saying, everything is coming from the mind. The body is coming from the mind. So to control the mind, we need to channel the flow of our desires. Very important. It's not about controlling the mind, it's not about forcing the mind, it's about channeling the flow of our desires. Because the mind is, the quality of the mind depends on the quality of our desire. The mind is controlled by desire. Thinking, feeling, and willing, where is it coming from? From the desire. We desire something, then it is manifested through thinking, feeling, and willing. So at the level of desire, there is no action. Mind rests in the attachment. So when you're just at the level of desire, then there's no attachment. But like Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, as soon as you start contemplating on the objects of the senses, then attachment arises. So we have to cut it at the level of desire before the attachment comes. That's why when you channel your desires toward the lotus feet of the Lord, then there's no need, or well, the attachment becomes channeled toward Krishna, naturally. So it's not about the attachment, Krishna consciousness. It is described in the 11th canto that bhakti Devotional service doesn't really need knowledge and detachment, because it is self-manifested. So, material is not being able to perceive the spiritual. It's not opposite. That's what material is. Not being able to perceive the spiritual. As simple as that. As soon as we don't perceive it, then we see it to be material. And then we become attached to it. Deal with desires, but don't identify with them. I need to eat. I need to take a shower. I need to have relationships with others. I need affection. I need whatever we desire. But we have to see when it's in relation to the body, the mind, and the senses. We deal with it because we have to keep the body and soul together, but we should not identify with them. It's the need of the soul is not hungry for something like material, or like for the actual food itself. No, it is hungry for the connection to Krishna. The soul, wants to experience Krishna. So the goal is to not identify with it. I'm dealing with it, but I'm not the body. I'm just the observer. I'm not the field of the activities. The problem is not the mind and the senses. We are attached to them, separate from the Lord. I am the controller and the enjoyer. So there's this constant, or you could say eternal relationship, interaction between the mind and the senses. Senses enter the mind enters the senses. But depending on how you perceive the field of the activities, if you perceive the senses or the sense objects to be yours and for your enjoyment, then Maya enters your mind. If you see it to be Krishna, if you see the objects of the senses to be an offering as a sacrifice to the Lord, then Krishna enters the mind. As simple as that. Because to be in the present moment is 1/11 fraction of a second. That's how much it takes to be Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness really means not only chanting and hearing, but means being conscious of the interaction between Krishna and his energies. When you're conscious, then you see it for what it is really. So what is good and not good? When generated from the mind, there is a difference of opinion. No attraction, no attachment, no opinion. Best example? When Shukadev Goswami passed in front of young ladies that were naked, taking their bath in a lake. Because he saw them as ladies Brahman, lake Brahman, trees Brahman. Because he saw it for what it was, there was no attraction and attachment. Then, no opinion. But when Vyasadev came and identifying himself as a householder, then the ladies, they started to hide themselves with cloth. So when he asked them after, he understood that, well, because, he was coming like a householder, then they felt that, basically. They felt it. But because Shukadev Goswami was at the level of Brahman, he didn't make any difference. The ladies could feel that and didn't feel any fear whatsoever coming from seeing him. Let us continue. We perceive things in connection to Krishna. How do we use them for Krishna? Then it's situated in devotion. Everything is Krishna. When we perceive them to be Krishna, and when we use them as a sacrifice to Krishna, then that's the platform of devotion. So I was talking about that. So 1/11 of a second is actually what we deal with in a moment of analyzing and acting upon anything that we are dealing with. This is Krishna consciousness. That's why it doesn't matter if someone falls down from the devotional platform. Because it's all about being in the present moment. The person in Krishna consciousness for 30 years who has been doing so much service, he has done it in Krishna consciousness. Because he has been in the present moment serving the Lord. And that's what is important. That's what the Lord takes, That's why the Lord says, even if someone commits the most abominable activity, if it is fixed in this determination is considered to be saintly. So it doesn't matter if someone falls from the platform of devotional service. As soon as you come back into that present moment of putting yourself in the mood of a servant, doing things as a sacrifice to the Lord, then you are Krishna conscious. But because we're influenced by Christianity, because this is the culture here, which we think in the terms of eternal damnation, that, because someone has sinned, is an eternal sinner, then we are not able to help others to come back into Krishna consciousness, or to help ourselves. So when we identify as servant of Krishna, at that point we are liberated. Condition is, I am the controller and enjoyer. Just to repeat again, no. That's what it is. Liberation, just identifying as a servant. Condition, identifying as the body and as I and mine. The expression that is being given through the form is more important. This sincerity to perform an activity. Much more important than what you offer. That's why Krishna says, even if you offer me a leaf, a flower, if you offer it with devotion, I will accept it. Shuddhava Brahmana, he offered to the Lord old, stale piece of flat rice. It's not the best offering, but because he offered with devotion, the Lord accepted it. Was it Vidura who gave, instead of the banana, he gave the peel? He gave the peel to Krishna, and then Krishna accepted. He was just in ecstasy of seeing Krishna. So what is important is the intention, the mood, the devotion, and what you do. Because if you do so many things externally, if you give millions of dollars, but then you have a personal motivation to enjoy and control, then Krishna is not so pleased by that. If I give money because I want to be recognized by others, Krishna is not so pleased by that. But if you give $1, but you give it with all your heart and devotion, Krishna will accept it. So without education, without actually understanding the field, who we are, and who Krishna is, and the relationship there, we actually will have great difficulty in working with that field. Sambandha Gyan. Like we said yesterday, Sambandha Gyan is the basis of chanting. Good chanting comes from good hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, or good Japa. And good Kirtan comes from good Japa. So actually, what's behind even the consciousness of the field is how you identify yourself, how you therefore perceive the field. That's the root of everything. Because the soul needs identity. The soul is an eternal identity, individual. So because we're forgetful about who we are, we put ourselves or force ourselves into that material identity. But we're actually lying to ourselves. So as soon as you identify yourself to be the servant, then everything comes naturally. It's not about changing the activity. It's about changing your perception, mainly of your identity. Then all the rest will follow. So this concludes our seminar on how to see Krishna everywhere. Are there any questions, comments, or reflections? Yes?
It's relating to yesterday's seminar that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering, there might be a situation when we haven't chanted our rounds since the morning, and we come to the temple and in the kitchen they need our help. So in that case, what is more important, your chanting or doing service?
Mm. It depends how you look at it, because everything is service, you see. Service is the essential function of the self. So chanting is service, but also cooking in the kitchen is service. So it's just from one service to the next. So it's not that you're stopping service if you stop chanting, you're still serving, but you're doing it in a different way. And also, because you're cooking for Krishna in the kitchen, especially when you come and cook in the temple, you're cooking, it's Srimati Radharani's kitchen. You're doing an offering to the Lord, so you make sure your consciousness is connected to Krishna. So then, it's the same as chanting, The goal of chanting, the goal of service, the goal of everything we do in Krishna consciousness is to always remember Krishna and never forget it. Is that okay? Thank you. Yes.
I ask with reference to Gita, not from my own.
Sure.
There is some confusion. Actually, this may be true for the house also. This is chapter 9th, and the shloka is Maya Tatmidam Sarvam Jagt Vyaktamurtina Mat Sthani Sarvutani Na Chahatesham Vasit.
Sorry.
I will translate in English also, but in Hindi, most people will understand.
Which verse is that?
It is Bhagavad Gita. Gita Press. Originally, it is most prevalent in India.
Which verse?
Srimad Bhagavad Gita from Gita Press.
Which chapter and which verse?
The 9th chapter.
Which shloka?
Which shloka?
It is 4th shloka.
9:4. Okay, please go. Please go.
In simple Hindi, it is. I will then translate in English. मुझ निराकार परमात्मा से यह सब जल से बर्फ की तरह परिपूर्ण है और सब भूत मेरे अंतर्गत संकल्प के आधार स्थित हैं, किंतु वास्तव में मैं उनमें स्थित नहीं हूँ. The Lord is not in us. It means
Let me read the translation. By me in my unmanifested form,
Yes.
this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to that you explain it, sir. Why he is not in us?
Yes.
He is
So,
not in us.
Krishna, basically, everything is coming from the expansion of Krishna's energies. So, why he says that basically, I am in them and they're not in me, is that basically Krishna as a person is not there, he's in the spiritual world. And he manifests as Brahman, as his effulgence, so that this material world can be created and be manifested and the qualities can be manifested. So that's how we see that Krishna pervades everything. He pervades through his qualities coming out from his bodily effulgence. So that's why they're not in me in the sense that, they're interacting with the material world, but I am not there. I'm in Goloka Vrindavan, in my abode, where I play with my devotees. So that's where we can see the difference. Krishna is completely, you could say, disconnected from the material world in a spiritual abode, where he enjoys eternal pastimes with his devotees. But for the purpose of manifesting this material world, he expands as the material creation, and through Brahman, everything is pervaded. So in that sense, Krishna pervades everything. Does that make sense?
But then, sir, you take the chapter 15th. And the 15th verse.
15:15, yes. Let me read the translation, because I don't know which translation of Bhagavad Gita you have. So we'll just read the translation.
You can read the translation.
Yeah. So I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Yes.
Earlier he said that I am not in anybody. Here he says that I am in everybody.
Yes. Like I explained, it's the same thing. Krishna
for everybody.
is not in
It
the...
is for everybody. The 9th chapter, what the Lord says, is different from what the Lord says in 15th chapter.
Krishna is not in the...
Although I know that whatever he says is true, but I want to know from your face, why he saying something controversial.
I just explained it basically. Krishna he manifests in different ways. That's how we can understand that he's both very far away and very close, that he pervades everything and he is localized by the expansions of his different energies. That's what is Bhagavan. Bhagavan is a person in the spiritual world. He interacts with his devotees. And that's how we are not in him. He's there, separate from the material world. But through the expansions of his energies, everything is pervaded. So Paramatma is the localized aspect of Krishna. The super soul, is manifesting it himself or You could say multiplying himself in every atom, in every body of every living entity. But it doesn't take out because Krishna is absolute, Krishna is complete. Just like in the invocation of the Ishopanishad, we understand that Krishna is always the complete whole, and that the material creation is also complete in itself. They are perfectly complete. So everything is complete in Krishna. 1 plus 1 equals 1 on the absolute level. So basically, it doesn't diminish Krishna or his personality, the fact that he is expanding in so many unlimited forms. By the expansion, he is there in everything. So any other question or comments? Yes?
So my question is, so in your daily activities in service to Krishna, how do you maintain that bhav of love?
How to maintain the devotion in our service to Krishna? Well, you can maintain it by perceiving things for what they are. Because when you see that it is not for your enjoyment, then your mood changes naturally. When you perceive, like at the level of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, that actually everything is meant for the pleasure of the Lord. When you understand that's what Sambandha again is so important. I'll just repeat this, without education, without actually understanding the field, who we are, and who Krishna is in the relationship there, we actually will have great difficulty in working with that field. So as soon as we understand who we are, what is the field, who is Krishna, and what we're meant for, what is the goal of life, then naturally we'll be enthused and we'll have devotion toward Krishna. It's all about Sambandha again. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Does that make sense? Thank you. Yes?
Prabhuji, I'm sorry I came late, but the concept of the field, could you review that?
Well,
Briefly.
We can summarize it. Maybe we can go back at the beginning. I don't know, as I explained, if you can just go back at the beginning, I'd like to read this sentence again about the soul is not the controller. Just at the beginning, if you can find that phrase, but the soul is not the controller, is not the activity. So the soul at any point is always the observer of the field. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the soul is the knower of the field of activities. The body is the field of activities, and the soul is the knower of the field. So at any point, any moment, any circumstances, we're always the observer. So that's why it is important to perceive it as an observer, not as the controller and enjoyer, because only Krishna is the source of the field of activities. We have not manifested it. As the observer, we are assisting in the activity.
Is it this one?
No, it's more at the beginning. Yes, just here. The soul is not the controller, not the enjoyer, not the field of activity, not the place of the activity, not the result of the activity, not the cause of the activity. And the action itself is not us either. So that's what it is, the field. It's not us. We are the observer. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. So anything else? Yes?
I have a question. I'm not sure whether I got this concept right, but I think it was mentioned that if we attach to something, we should see Krishna in that. So
Yes.
I've heard so many times that people say we have to get detached from whatever attachments we have. Wouldn't it be justifying our attachments then?
Well, like I said, it's not about attachment, but it's about attachment to Krishna. So the attachments are there. It's not about changing the field, it's about your perception of it, like I was explaining. So, in our attachments, we just have to see how we can connect it to Krishna. That's what is important. We're doing many things. One thing I forgot to mention that is very important. So what is the purpose of this? Is to help us to gradually increase our perception and devotion. Because it's not that right at the beginning we can completely connect everything to Krishna. It's not like that. But we have to go from unfavorable to favorable. From what I like to do to what Krishna likes to do, what he wants to have. So at the beginning we are attached to things that we like to do because we want them. In Krishna consciousness we can start at any level. Even the drunkard, Prabhupada said he can afford the pure water in his beer. Because everything is Krishna anyway, whether it's good or bad. It's just that it's not a very nice offering to offer a beer to Krishna. The drunkard is attached to the taste in the beer. But taste itself is the quality of Krishna. But there are other kinds of taste. If you're attached to the taste, then why not being attached to the taste of a mango lassi, fresh strawberry juice? So you see, in that sense, it's not the form, it's we're attached not to the beer, we are attached to the quality in it. So as soon as you understand that, when you actually decorticate the attachment, you take out into pieces, then it's not so attractive anymore. And then you can see Krishna, and then you become more attracted to Krishna, and you see, well, I'm attached to the taste, so why not offering a nice mango juice to Krishna? No. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, very simple but very novice question. As they say, in Gita also it is somewhere written that at the time of death, although it is a negative question, whosoever remembers me, he comes to me. But I have seen some people dying also in the hospital or somewhere. Very few people can recall God.
Yes.
So it means they are lost. They will not go to God. Only Mahatma Gandhi could speak at the time of death, O Ram. But I have not heard anybody else at the time of death speaking as Ram or Krishna.
So to remember Krishna at the time of death needs a lifetime of cultivation of remembering Krishna. That's why chanting is so important. So the quality of our remembrance will depend on the quality of our cultivation of remembering Krishna throughout our life. It's not that I can just remember Krishna, it's not as cheap as that, I can just remember at the time of death. I mean, if we can, then definitely, we go back home, back to Godhead. But the quality of remembrance will really be affected about how you cultivate that remembrance of Krishna. Your attachment to him, we spoke about that yesterday. The goal of chanting is to develop a relationship with Krishna. When it's fortified and you really have a better understanding of who Krishna is by cultivating knowledge or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then at the time of that, through that deeper knowledge of Krishna, by realization given by him in the level of the heart, and by the quality of our chanting, then we'll be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. Yes. Thank you for the next question. Anything else?
I have one more question.
Yes.
So you said good and bad everything we have to see Krishna in good or bad. So the people who do bad, is it justified then?
Well, no. It's not that we can justify it, but the point is to see that it is Krishna. At any point it is Krishna. It's just an inferior manifestation, and it's enacted through the mode of passion and ignorance. But the point is that, like I was saying, it's about what is favorable to Krishna. That's the most important. So these things, although they are Krishna, they're not so favorable. Being violent to another person is not so favorable to our service to the Lord. Especially, or criticizing devotees being aggressive. It's not so favorable. So, although the manifestation of it is Krishna, still it is not favorable for devotional service. So what is really important is to see in what I do, whether it is good or bad, is it favorable to Krishna? That's the most important. Not good or bad, but is it favorable to Krishna? That's always what we should think about when we perform activities. Then naturally it will be good. Because if it's favorable to Krishna, means it is described in the scriptures, it is instructed by the great sages, and it is naturally also pleasing to Krishna, because it's favorable. So, thank you. Is that okay? Yeah. Yes, yes, maybe here.
Well, the quality has got a different definition for each individual. Like something I like could be different totally for somebody else. They may not like it. So it is individual's perspective, right? So how do you distinguish good or bad? In my opinion, we can find different tasty mangoes. It's not one mango. Different kinds of mango have different taste. But how do we distinguish that?
What you're describing is that it's the level of the mind.
Right.
So if your opinion is based on your mind, whether I accept or reject this, I am attached and attracted to this, then because the mind is contaminated by the false ego and by the desire to control and enjoy, then we won't understand what is really good for us. So that's why you go in the bookstore and you go in the spiritual section and you see thousands of different books on spirituality. Which one is good, really? Most of them are coming of a writer who is at the level of the mind, on the mental platform, in the spirit of wanted to control and enjoy. And this is based on his own opinion, what he feels, what he imagines. So then how can we understand it can be the absolute good for everyone? So mode of goodness means authority, following the guru, sadhu and shastra. That's what it means. So if you want to make the right choices in life, to understand really what is good or bad, we have to understand from the scriptures. Because God's laws are what they are. It's not that we can invent our own laws. It's not that we can invent what is good or bad. They are there eternally, naturally manifesting by Krishna. Is that okay? Thank you.
So you had mentioned the mode of goodness, and Krishna mentions the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance, and you have to be situated in the mode of goodness. But in the second chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna that the Vedas mainly deal with the Traiguna, the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. He said you have to transcend these modes. So if you're in the mode of goodness, how do we come to this transcending the mode of goodness?
Very good question. So again, it's all about perception. The mind is coming from Lord Aniruddha. The mind is coming from mode of goodness, the mode of passion. Interesting. So naturally the mind is in mode of goodness. That's where it works best. If you bring the mind in passion and ignorance, it will be disturbed, confused, stressed, or feeling, there will be anxiety. So, but the mind, where is it coming from? The mind is coming from Lord Aniruddha. Or the mind actually, the soul has a mind, the soul has senses, the soul has a body. So originally, the mind is in Krishna consciousness, or the mind originally is in pure goodness, because we see the material mind is in goodness. So that means originally the mind is in pure goodness. So to bring the mind at the level of pure goodness, chanting is really good at that. Chanting naturally brings up pure goodness. And also, when you direct the flow of your desires toward the lotus feet of the Lord, the mind will naturally come in pure goodness as well. Is that okay? Very nice question.
Sir,
Yes.
is it very necessary that for the development soul we must have physical body?
For the
development of the soul, or of the cleanup of the soul, whatever is evil is there above the soul. Soul is always clean. Do we need body, physical body?
Well, no, the soul never needs a physical body. But the point is, we are very attached, we are very attached to this bodily identification. We are really attached to control and enjoyment. And because of that, we have the body. And to purify, because we already have a body, that's the point. We already, if the soul wouldn't have a body, then we wouldn't be speaking about that. There will be no point to speak about this. But because we're all in a material body, then we need to use the body to purify ourselves. Because it starts, like I was saying at the beginning, it starts at the beginning from the externals, from engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. Then, as you engage the senses, the mind will naturally be more on the devotional platform. Because externally, someone you meet on the street can come and wash the dishes in the kitchen. But what will be the same experience between him and the head pujari for 20 years who has been washing dishes for the deities? You see? So it's really about using the senses. You first use the body, externals, the senses. As the senses become purified, the mind will become attracted to spiritual things, to Krishna. And as the mind is attracted, then our consciousness also will be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So naturally, by using the body, we will elevate ourselves. Because we are anyway in this body. It's not that we can fake. Everyone is attached. And even if we try to kill ourselves, the attachment to the body is still there. And when you leave the body, the subtle body is there, the mind. The body of desires is there, the causal body. So as long as we cannot deal with this desire to enjoy and to be like Krishna, to be the controller and enjoyer, we'll be stuck with the material body. So using the body, we work on this specifically, on this mentality that I am the controller and enjoyer.
So, sir, angels also need body.
Sorry?
Angels also desire to be in body.
Yes, angels or the inhabitants of the heavenly planets, they have a body, but it's more like a subtle body. Everyone has a body. Brahma has a body of intelligence. So we have a body as a soul too. That's the point. And that's why we need to go through this, because we have forgotten about our spiritual identity. We use this material identity, we purify ourselves, using it in the service of the Lord, connecting body, mind, and senses. By doing this, by connecting to Krishna, on the journey to Krishna, we will meet ourselves.
So that's why, sir, physical body is more important.
Well, it is important when it is used in the service, because we're attached to the body. When we use it, then it is important.
It is to be used for service.
Yes, exactly. Everything is to be used to service. We made that point in the class. Everything is sacrificed to the Lord. Anything else? There was a hand? No?
I was just thinking, what he was asking about, how to make decisions, or good and bad, what's good and bad. You were saying to always, Krishna says to always do what's favorable to Krishna. But Krishna is like kind of self-fulfilled. So how can you favor Krishna?
So Krishna is Atmaram. That's one of his qualities, or one of the aspects of Krishna, but that's not his highest aspect. Krishna being self-sufficient, in the sense, yes, he doesn't need anything. He is self-sufficient in himself, self-satisfied. But what Krishna really wants is rasa, relationship. So interaction with his devotees. That's how you can, to experience love, you have to exchange it with someone else. So to experience love, Krishna has to exchange it with the devotees, with everyone. So in that sense, Krishna, it's in its highest aspect, Krishna is Rasaraj, the king of all relationships, and that's where he is the topmost personality. He is Krishna, because he wants personally to have a personal relationship with every soul, so that there can be an exchange of love and service. Is that okay? Thank you. So anything else? Big topic, huh?
Please make it a point to visit us soon.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Grantaraj.